What is up, fam? How you guys doing? It's Alejandro here over at Athlete Fitness Studio, and today what I want to talk to you guys about is some upper body exercises, or better yet, pushing or anterior chain exercises. The focus is going to be mostly on pushing. In fact, all the movements for today is going to revolve around working out our pecs. And we're going to follow this up with a posterior chain upper body video. Similar to our lats, the pec actually attaches to the humerus. So a lot of pec activation actually stems when we bring our arm into the midline, whether it's from this position, from whatever angle really. As long as the arm comes in to the side, you're getting some level of pec activation. And so as a result, there's actually different exercises at varying angles that work different parts of our pecs. Now, I'm actually gonna bring ourselves over to the floor here, and I'm gonna kind of explain a little more about pec activation. So in the full body movement video, we talked about, or at least I included, a floor press. Now I think this is a great beginning exercise if, say, like you want to do some chest presses. I think a floor press is a great start because you can actually go through a one-arm version of this and actually use the other arm to facilitate or to touch and see if you're actually recruiting your muscles. So without using the dumbbell here, or I'll use this side, when you're pressing, I find at the very top of the movement, when you're here, you want some level of protraction. So protraction is where you separate the shoulder blades, and then retraction is where you bring them in. However, if you go through too much, you actually end up rising up, you lift up the shoulder blade, you protract it excessively, and then you actually end up loading up the anterior deltoid. When you press, lock the shoulder blade back in place, see if you can really expand your chest as best you can. This hand's gonna be touching, and then as you press up, this portion of your arm here, you're gonna try and bring that into the midline, almost squeezing against your pec, pop up. And as you pop up here, note how actually high up my arm actually gets. So at this point, right, I'm getting quite a bit of pec activation. I'm squeezing as much as I can here, right? But as soon as I go any further than that, I kind of lost that tension. And so when you're doing a dumbbell press, right, one arm, two arm, or whatever, even a bench press, that's something to keep in mind, right? Bringing that shoulder blade back, arm comes into the midline, maximize the recruitment. So right now it's pretty tight, so I'm very active and I can feel it. Expand the chest, push, tighten up here. Now this applies to chest flies as well, along with push-ups. And so when you're doing your push-up or any kind of pushing movements, the angle of your arm is also going to contribute to how much pec activation you get. But the safest position I find for pushing, any kind of pushing movements really, is it's almost like a 45-degree angle. Like I like to say, you want like a big pizza slice, basically underneath your arm and lined up against your torso here. So doing a push-up, which is actually something I included here, when you're going through it, you want your joints to stack up effectively. And then I find you're gripping with your hands here. You're gripping downward and you're externally rotating to lock in that shoulder blade, similar to what you do on the floor. And then when you bring yourself down, head up a bit, expand the chest. Note how far down I'm actually going, right? I'm not going too far down, because just like when you're doing that floor press, when you're at the bottom position, right? If that shoulder goes anywhere beyond, you kind of lose that tension. You actually put all the load onto your anterior deltoid, and then your shoulder ends up doing most of the work. So really, when you're doing any kind of chest exercises, the key is to feel it out. Make sure you're feeling the pec work as best you can. So a good starting point, like I mentioned, the floor press, the one-arm version of it, or just doing both together to see if you can feel it, helps a lot too.
Alrighty, so with the barbell incline bench press, I really want to drive and push through my feet. I'm looking for some good thoracic extension, and then I'm also trying to bend that bar in half. And notice my shoulder position with both of these movements here, with both variants rather, I'm trying to really just make sure I'm not going any lower so I put stress on the shoulder joints. The great thing about the incline press is it actually hits a big portion of the pec major, a little bit of the pec minor. It also gets some anterior deltoid as well. So it's a really good exercise for your pecs essentially. And then doing the flat bench version there, as you noticed, I went through this motion of really trying to open up my chest and promote a lot of thoracic extension. And the reason for that is to preserve the shoulder joint from a flat bench version of it. Because the thing about doing it flat, at least with the barbell version of it, is that it can be pretty damaging to a lot of people in their shoulders. So we're trying to preserve the shoulder joint as best we can and promote more pec activation. Now with push-ups, whether it's off the floor or whether it's off the squat rack, the goal remains the same in trying to get a nice good workout from the push-up, trying to feel our pecs, get the whole body active, making sure our abdominals are firing. We want to squeeze our glutes because our glutes are part of our core, so we actually want to keep them active so we promote hip extension. Right, we're feeling those pecs at the very bottom of it. Doesn't matter, like I said, where you start from. So with a pec fly or a chest fly, on the floor I find is great just because it also, again, it's all about preservation of the shoulder joint. So I can actually bring my arms down, note where I actually want to finish. And then if I'm doing a cable version of it, which I actually would say is almost arguably better because it does protect the shoulder joint, it has tension, is constant. And then when you're doing chest raises, all three of these versions, all three of these movements, it comes down to adduction of the shoulder joint. So I hope that helps.
I hope you enjoy the workout. Give it a shot. Try these exercises out. There are a couple different variants of each of them. And if you have any questions at all about any of them, feel free to ask. Happy to help.